And we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the third topic of the show today, we will now get into the Eagles-Rams game from Sunday, and very snowy game in the second half. Um, they even posted it on social media. I forget which Instagram account, but, what a difference from the first half to the second half, because that snow really came down. And, it didn't matter for Saquon Barkley and that rushing attack of the Eagles. But you know what? Matthew Stafford also made some good throws in the game late. But the Eagles ultimately picked up the win. And it was off of their running game, like I said, as well as, them picking up some turnovers in the game as well. So, yeah, the Eagles got the ball to start off the game. And Jalen Hurts from 44 yards out, I believe. Yeah, so 44 rushing touchdown. Jake Elliott actually missed the PAT. But they went up 6-0 pretty quickly. They went 6 plays, 74 yards. But then the Rams responded. They went 13 plays, 67 yards down the field. Matthew Stafford connected with Tyler Higbee for a touchdown. And, the game was on. Both teams exchanged punts. And then Saquon Barkley, his first rushing touchdown of the game, he went 62 yards. That put them up 13-7. Rams then kicked a field goal. And it was 13-10 at the half. And then that's when the snow really began to come down. You had the Rams tie the game on a field goal. Eagles responded with a Jake Elliott field goal to make it 16-13. And then the Rams actually got a safety. Eagles were backed up. They get a safety. They made it 16-15. And you thought, okay, is the momentum starting to swing in the Rams' favor? And Kyren Williams had a costly fumble. That led to another field goal. And then Stafford, he ended up getting sacked and losing the ball. And that led to another field goal. So that made it 22-15. And then Eagles got the ball back after the Rams punted. They went 3-and-out. Saquon Barkley scored another touchdown. This was the first play of their next drive. 78-yard touchdown. At that point, you thought, yeah, this game's over. Rams got no chance. It was like 4.5 minutes left in the game. However, Rams went 10 plays, 70 yards very quickly. Got some big chunks on this drive. And it led to a Matthew Stafford to Kobe Parkinson 4-yard touchdown. So that made it 28-22. They got the Eagles to go 3-and-out. They got the ball back. And, they were set up by a 37-yard reception by Puka Nacua. And, they got down to the Eagles' 23-yard line. Hold on a second. I don't know why it's set up like this, but yeah, so they got it to 3rd and 2. They were at the Eagles' 22-yard line. And Matthew Stafford ends up getting sacked by Jalen Carter, who had a good game. And I saw when, Dan Orlovsky was breaking down the play. Had Stafford had enough time, Tyler Higbee was wide open over the middle. And if Stafford hits him, it's possible Higbee scores, and we're having a very different conversation today. But that didn't happen. Eagles were getting some good pressure on Stafford. There was another time where, the pocket collapsed on him. Rams' interior O-line just let the Eagles break through and get to Stafford. But yeah, so they go for it on 4th and 11. They don't pick it up, and the Eagles take over. They win the game. And, there were a couple play, this game was closer than it should have been because, the Eagles, they hurt themselves at certain points in the game. They were doing the tush push, and there was a false start, so then that kind of led to a field goal. A.J. Brown had a drop in this game. Like I said, Lane Johnson, he was the one that caused the penalty that set them back. Dallas Goedert had a big play in this game. That got called back because Mekhi Becton was an ineligible man downfield. So there was that. So this game could have maybe been a blowout, but because of some of those mistakes by the Eagles, it kept it close. But I thought the Rams defense stepped up when it needed to. They got the safety. It's just turnovers. Turnovers were a problem. Stafford and Kyren Williams fumble. Also, you had early on in the game, Demarcus Robinson had a big catch that set up the touchdown. This was for, I think it was, actually, was it on this drive? Or maybe it was on a different drive. But that should have been an interception. Oh, yeah, it was on the drive that led to the field goal to make it 13-10. It was a 48-yard reception by Demarcus Robinson, but that should have been picked off. But Demarcus Robinson, he ripped the ball away, and, that led to some points there for the Rams. But, the Eagles did hurt themselves. And, there's a lot of people on Jalen Hurts. He went 15-20 for 128 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. It was not great through the air. Dallas Goedert had 4 receptions for 56 yards. But a lot of people are on this passing game and saying it's got to get going because they're not going to be able to win games like this, down the line. Like, against the Commanders, it could be a shootout. And if they get to the Super Bowl, whether it's against Josh Allen or if it's against Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts in this passing game is going to have to get it going. But at the same time, it's like you got Saquon Barkley, who once again ran for over 200 yards against this Rams defense. And if you remember, you can go back and watch it, I said, I don't think Saquon's going to get 200 yards in this game again. I didn't think he was going to get, 255, but he got 205, 26 carries, 2 touchdowns in the game. His longest run was a 78-yarder. And the Eagles ran the ball for almost 300 yards again on this Rams defense. 285 yards and 3 touchdowns. Jalen Hurts had the rushing touchdown early on in the game, and that's what makes him dangerous, as well as his ability to use his legs. The Rams just had no answers for this Eagles running game. And Saquon Barkley has taken that running game to another level. And you would like to see this Eagles passing game, get it going. And there have been games where that's been the case, where they have gotten it going. But listen, if Saquon Barkley is doing this, why are you going to go away from the run? But I get it. Because you want to see Jalen Hurts be more impactful on the game. And, the weather conditions played a role in it. I get it. But to me, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If Saquon Barkley is putting up these numbers, you don't want to go away from the run. But he's made all the difference for this team. He really has. Because, if the Eagles had DeAndre Swift in this game, and he was good for them last year, don't get me wrong. But if they had DeAndre Swift, do they win this game? I don't know. Saquon Barkley is a game breaker. And he just continues to show that over and over and over again. And the other thing, too, is this Eagles defense. 5 sacks of Matthew Stafford in the game. They had a couple of fumble recoveries. Zach Bond, who has been a great pickup for them. Also, Isaiah Rodgers had a fumble recovery in this game as well. This Eagles defense is really good. And this Eagles defense, you could probably say, probably make the argument, this Eagles defense is better than the defense that they had when they went to the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. Right? They probably don't have as many sacks as that defense did, because you remember, they had 4 players with, double-digit sacks. But this defense is very well-rounded. From their front 4 to their linebackers to their secondary. This is a well-rounded team. And this team could win the whole thing. Look, I said it before the year started. I said this team could be what we saw a couple years ago. With the additions of Barkley, they fixed up the defense. Early on it wasn't looking great for their defense, but they have really put it together. And, the Commanders, whether it's the Commanders this weekend, even though the Commanders, played well against them the last time they faced off against them. And then you got Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, on the other side. Whatever offense has to go up against this defense, it's a problem. It is a problem. And we'll see what happens in this championship game. It's going to be an interesting game between these two NFC East opponents. But once again, turnovers was the common theme because, the Rams, had they not turned the ball over, who knows what happens. And you thought when it was 28-15, when Barkley scores that touchdown, game's over. But the Rams quickly go down the field. They get a touchdown. They get a stop. And, if Stafford doesn't get sacked there, who knows? But, the Eagles are just a better team. And, they proved that once again here. Weather definitely played a factor in some of the turnovers, but listen, it is what it is. Everybody's playing through those conditions. So, yeah, I get it. When it comes to Jalen Hurts, you want to see him play a little bit better, put up better numbers in the stat sheet. I get it. But he also didn't turn the ball over. You could say the safety, but that doesn't count as a turnover. But other than that, they played mistake-free football, and they're in the NFC Championship game once again. And, yeah, for the Rams, it was a good year. They started off the year 1-4. It looked like it was going to be another disaster, kind of similar to what happened the year after they won the Super Bowl. But they got Cooper Kupp back. They got Puka Nacua back. They won their division. And, they had a chance. And it's interesting because Matthew Stafford is going to take some time to think about his future. But, he's playing good football down the stretch here. And I would imagine he is going to come back. I think the Rams, they're right there. Stafford, he put up over 300 yards in this game. Nacua made some good catches. Like I said, the one, on the last drive, that was a huge play. Demarcus Robinson had 3 catches for 74 yards. Puka Nacua 6 for 97. Stafford 2 touchdowns, 324 yards passing. Kyron Williams at over 100 yards rushing in the game. Cooper Kupp 5 receptions for 61 yards. He had a nice catch in this game. Tyler Higbee, had the touchdown early on, 7 receptions for 54 yards. It's good to have him back. And hopefully, you have him for a full season next year, because they need him. And then the Rams defense, 7 sacks of Jalen Hurts in the game. And then you look at the total yards comparison. Rams had more yards than the Eagles, 402 yards to 350. And, around the same in time of possession. But, they just they came up a little bit short there. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think about this game, though. What were your takeaways from it? Let me know in the comments. So, we are going to take our next break. When we come back, we will talk about the final game that we didn't get to yet from the divisional weekend, and that is the Chiefs defeating the Texans and once again advancing to the AFC Championship game. They will be taking on the Bills next week. So make sure to stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.